Coming up on Nittany Game Week.
There was no one that didn't give great effort. We just have to execute better.
The Nittany Lions' 11-point lead evaporates in the second half at Iowa. Why the defense continues to struggle with late leads, especially when it comes to containing quarterbacks.
When you run the ball enough on a team and you're just doing it so efficiently, it just beats them up.
Katron Allen's bruising style takes its toll on the Hawkeyes defenders, where he sits on Penn State's career rushing list after a 28-carry, 145-yard performance. And Penn State fans visit the Field of Dreams movie site in the midst of a nightmare season, what makes the trip well worth the extra travel. This is Nittany Game Week. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week. I'm Todd Sadowski alongside former Nittany Lions coaches Jay Paterno and Tom Bradley. Make it 4 consecutive losses to start the Big Ten schedule. A valiant effort with an interim head coach Terry Smith and the new QB1 Ethan Grunkemeyer, but they fall short against the Hawkeyes, guys, 25-24.
Well, they gave everything they had. They got some big plays to give them a chance to win, and unfortunately, you couldn't hold the lead at the end, and that leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
It sure does, but it does give you something to build on for next week. Guys, we were this close. Let's get it done.
It's kind of a common theme, the defense giving up late leads. It's a strong start and disappointing finish for the defense. The offense relies more than ever on Katron Allen, and the special teams delivers again with another spark right before halftime in our opening drive. So here we go. Coach Smith gets the guys fired up, leads them onto the field at Kinnick Stadium as slight underdogs. It's been a consistent problem all season, guys. The run defense. You can watch the Hawkeyes bounce off the first tackler or simply slide through an open lane. Then the QB run gets them 130 yards on only 9 carries from Mark Gronowski as Penn State goes in front by 11, only to give up the go-ahead score with under 5 minutes to go, Jay.
Well, again, you gotta go and look when you're playing Iowa. The secondary did a great job, which we're going to talk about, and they really limited the pass game. So you really should have put some more resources in towards that run game and try and shut that down because it's the only way they were going to beat you.
And Tom, we saw this against UCLA. The quarterback crushes the Nittany Lions with his feet. They fail to seal the edge on several occasions against Gronowski.
That's one of the problems that keeps reoccurring with this defense over and over again is that quarterback run, and they've got to really be cognizant of it of all time because that's today in college football. That's a guy who can turn it around real quick.
A good offense is going to utilize their quarterback's legs if they can. And it's not just a personnel matchup. It's got to be a scheme as well. The final scoring drive for Iowa, only 2 plays that covers 75 yards, 245 rushing yards, and only 33 carries. The late lead struggles are real.
Very disappointing loss. Very disappointing the way we lost. Defense. We can't get stops when we need stops. It's glaring, and I have to get it fixed. We're going to take the bye week and try to get those 3 areas cleaned up and better for when we go to Ohio State.
Everyone has to do their job when it comes down to it. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not going to be able to do your job, we got to fix that, and we got to figure out where we can improve. And if that's part of the situation, that's what we're going to have to do.
And not an easy environment or easy game for Coach Smith's first as the head coach. A lot of difficult decisions during the course of the 4 quarters, and he stayed aggressive with his calls and said afterwards, when you come on the road at a place like Kinnick, you have to come to win.
Ethan Grunkemeyer made his first start, Tom, and whenever you have a young quarterback, you like to see the rest of the team come up with some big plays to help them out. They got that early with an interception, got great field position, also got a blocked field goal for a touchdown. How important is that, Tom?
Well, usually, first of all, when you get a block kick for a touchdown, you usually win the game. That's 99.9% of the time that actually happens.
Well, Zackees Wheatley interception sets up Penn State on Iowa's 35 for their first possession. Grunkemeyer shows some elusiveness and grit on a 4th and 4 to keep the drive going coming up. Overall, Grunkemeyer does a pretty decent job. Now, I know you'll have more on the quarterback play in the scouting report, Jay, but not sure why Iowa coach Kirk Ferentz would trot out his field goal kicker to try a 65-yarder later on, but no matter, he does. Xavier Gilliam would block it. Elliott Washington II would barely break stride to score on the last play of the first half. So they've had their mistakes, but special teams has been mostly a plus this season and really the only unit providing big plays.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the trivia question. You know, Dennis Sutton has 2 block kicks in 2 games in a row coming into the Iowa game. First time that's happened in a long time. But they're getting points off him, and I think that's really important when you do that.
Well, as for Grunkemeyer, 15 of 28 for only 93 yards, 2 interceptions. Afterwards, he was asked what he learned about himself from the game. Like any good QB, his response was about the team.
I think just as a team, first and foremost, we're resilient. Went down and battled back, and then in a tough environment like this. So I was proud of the guys in that aspect.
A mature response after a difficult loss in his very first start. And when it comes to the offense, Coach Smith wastes little time making Kaytron Allen the clear #1 option at running back. He scores both offensive touchdowns for the Nittany Lions, wears down the Hawkeyes defense in the process, 28 carries, 145 yards. Kaytron was very impressive.
I think sometimes running backs get better as the game goes on because they're starting to see the blocking schemes, they're starting to see the creases and things happen. I think you saw that Saturday. I think he's a guy that the more he runs, the more he wears you down. He's a little bit like Tony Hunt was back in the early 2000s when Tony would get you and you get tired of tackling him. You see that with Kaytron Allen.
Well, that's one of the things, having been around a few great running backs at Penn State in my time, that's the way they got. As the game went on, they got a feel for it. They got better and better and better. They wore the other team down.
I love the Tony Hunt comp. That's a good one. Such a bruising style. One of those guys the offensive line loves to clear a path for to give him some room to run.
He's a joy to be around in general, very positive. When he's running the rock, it's very exciting to see him hit the holes that he does, and it's just a blessing to see him score every single time.
Well, Kaytron passes Kurt Warner and moves up to 3rd all-time on the Penn State career rushing list with 3,489 yards. Only Saquon Barkley and Evan Royster have more. Of course, one of the best parts about a football game at Kinnick Stadium is the wave to the children and families in the Iowa Children's Hospital that towers over the field. For a night game, everyone lights up their cell phones and waves to the kids. One of the best traditions in all of college sports. We're going to step aside for a moment. We have a bye-week self-scout coming up. Our coaches examine the effectiveness of using 2 quarterbacks against Iowa and what we can expect moving forward with the Nittany Lions offense. More Nittany Game Week is on the way.
Nittany Game Week is brought to you by West Shore Home, official partner of Penn State football.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. Double overtime devastation in the whiteout to Oregon. Cross-country trip to lose to UCLA. 1-point setback on homecoming to Northwestern, followed by the head coach being fired, and then a heartbreaker at Iowa. I'm not sure there's any team in the country that needs a bye week more than Penn State. Coach Bradley and Coach Paterno, certainly a moment for Coach Terry Smith and the players to catch their breath. It's also a good time to go back and work and try out a new approach.
Well, thanks for that cheery intro there, Todd. With all I mean, other than the obvious, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? But let's talk about what happened last week in Iowa City and some things that are good, some things that need to be improved. But we had attack of the 2-headed quarterback using backup Jackson Smolik in the game as well. In terms of you look at the numbers, Grunkemeyer had a pretty good day throwing the ball. Interceptions were a problem, but can be better. The run game with the quarterback, they got some yards and plays. But let's talk specifically when they put Smolik in the game, the package that they used. 3 design runs for the quarterback, did not get a lot out of that, but when he handed the ball off, Tom, drew a lot of attention. And let's talk about what that means in terms of X's and O's and look at the film. Here you're going to see you got Smolik in at quarterback, you got Singleton in motion, you got these guys coming to the edge, and you hand the ball to Allen, Tom, and that puts these guys in a bunch, doesn't it?
It does put him in a bunch. And one of the things is every time now you have to know where the quarterback was because he can run the ball.
And his ability to run becomes a very powerful lure to people in terms of trying to defend it, and that opens things up for Allen in the run game. Now let's talk about Grunkemeyer, the pass distribution, Tom. A lot of the 15 completions, 8 were behind the line of scrimmage. and another 6 were between the line of scrimmage and 9 yards deep. Only 1 completion downfield. They did try and throw it downfield, but they did not hit those, Tom, and that's going to be something they got to do.
They have to get going now because you're going to just sit on that now. If you don't start throwing it down the field periodically to keep people honest, they're going to sit on those low-level routes.
And let's talk about what Grunkemeier's mobility did. Here's a 3rd down and 11. He goes back to pass. Iowa brings the blitz. He avoids the blitz and gets out over here, throws the ball at tight end, and then the run for the 1st down is obviously after the catch is important, Tom.
Very important, and just knowing that this quarterback can move with his legs, you have to know that all the time on defense. You have to know where he is.
And they took things away downfield. Now let's talk about special teams, Tom. Special teams, always important, especially when you play Iowa. The great blocked field goal before the half. You talk about what you talk about when you coach these guys, Tom, is get the penetration inside right, and how important is it for that scoop and score guy to have his eyes open.
It's very important to scoop and score. One of the things that's an interesting statistic, usually when you block a kick and return it for a touchdown, you win the football game.
Yeah, and one of the things is when you block a kick, it's all offensive linemen on the field, so nobody was going to catch him. And that's a free 7 points. And really, it was a big play in the game. Now let's turn it over to defense. So far this year, when you look at defensively, Penn State has been good against the pass. They're good in the secondary. They have great length. They're 6th in the country in pass defense, but they only rank 68th in sacks. That's got to be improved. And when you look at the past opponents, they haven't really been great passing teams. That's going to change in the next 5 weeks, Tom, and that becomes really important.
One of the things that you're not seeing a lot of sacks is because the ball is coming out quick.
Yeah.
They want to get it out quick because I think they know that they've got a very good pass rush that can get to them.
And a lot of length, and they get some tip balls. Big play here. Now let's talk about the run defense. Everybody's talking about the run defense where they are. 98th in the country against the run. Again, the teams they've played so far are better run teams than they're going to play down the stretch. So that may start to tilt that the other way, but we'll see. Let's talk about some of the problems they've had. You get some north and south running attack here. That's been one of the things that's been a problem for them. Everything going vertical, not being able to down linemen, not being able to keep the offensive linemen off the linebackers. There's been some criticism of linebacker play, but in all fairness, those down guys got to keep them off them.
They've got to do a better job keeping them off and not getting knocked off the ball. You'll see some guys getting knocked off the ball. And the other thing is I think they've got to be better tacklers in that situation.
No question. I think as you look at where Penn State is right now, they've got to shore up the run game, maintain what they're doing in the pass game, keep the special team special, and get some more things going offensively. And I think, Todd, that's going to be a challenge for them the next 5 weeks.
Thank you, coaches. Considering the expectations at the beginning of the year, it's been a nightmare of a season so far. While in Iowa, Penn State fans decide to soak up some of the magic and mystique of the Field of Dreams movie site.
The Field of Dreams movie site we decided at the bar last night. So that was 100% spontaneous because we have nothing better to do in Iowa. But it's absolutely was worth the trip. The drive out here was amazing. Let's see, the corn was cool. It looks like that they have it so that you can walk right in. Kind of a little wider, but then it closes off, so that's kind of neat. The baseball players walking around are cool with all the old-timey equipment and all that stuff.
Fall is kind of our slow down time, but we definitely get opponents that come from all over, whether it is even from Omaha in the World Series games times, but from Iowa Hawkeye games and football games. You know what I mean? The support, they say it in the movie, right? Iowa City, but come into the Field of Dreams and how magical it is. I say it's pretty awesome, all the fans that we get out here from that support.
Special place for sure, and they continue to build at the complex. While they maintain the original field, they are building more youth fields and a Major League diamond to host teams from all age groups. Up next, our Impact interview. Fans always want to know how they can help. Well, we talked to the Big Ten's Chief Medical Officer for details about the Blood Drive Challenge, where schools compete with each other to see how many lives they can save through donations. Nittany Game Week returns after this.
Impact Interview is sponsored by the Pocono Mountains, where small-town charm meets big adventures. Book your trip today by visiting PoconoMountains.com.
Welcome back to Nittany Game Week. It is time for our Impact interview, and perhaps there is no greater impact than to save a life. And this week we're focusing on the Abbott Big Ten Blood Drive Challenge. And our guest is Dr. Jim Borchers, who is the Chief Medical Officer for the Big Ten. Dr. Borchers, thanks so much for joining us. We'll go right into it. Blood always in demand, not just during the holidays. This blood drive competition in the Big Ten, why is it so important right now?
We've got a crisis really in this country in the need for blood. We've got blood centers around the country that have, less than a day's supply. And if you think about the number of patients and individuals that can need blood at any one time, to have to think about whether we need to ration that or we need to, maybe not provide that to someone or not have the ability to do so is critical. And we're facing that because, people that have traditionally donated have been a little bit older. They were more used to that, and we need to drive young people into that idea of donating blood. We all know somebody that needs it, and we know that young people want to assist. They just need to be aware of it, and this is a great way to create that awareness around, the fall and college football and rivalries, and now coast to coast. What better place in the Big Ten to do that?
Given the range of health challenges that universities face on their campuses, both with physical health as well as mental health, how big an impact can that $1 million prize that the winning school will get really make on a college campus?
Well, think about the holistic ability to impact so many people, as you mentioned, Jay, from not only physical health, mental health, community health. And when you're doing that in young people, right, it continues to grow, and then that expands. So as we're introducing community programs for student health, as we're introducing things around improved mental health, young people take that and expand it on their own. So that $1 million can have an impact that goes way beyond the actual monetary value as students carry that forward. And what's really unique about it is that each institution, as you know, has their own unique challenges, has their own unique communities, and the ability to take that and to utilize it in a way that's most impactful to your community and to your students and the people that interact with your students is one of the things that I think is really unique about this. It's not been, so siloed or streamlined, like you have to use this $1 million for this type of project. And that allows then institutions like Nebraska, who won last year, to really think uniquely about how they're going to utilize that money.
How big of an impact did last year's blood drive have on the communities in the Big Ten footprint? And is there any thought to expanding the challenge to include other conferences like the SEC?
Well, in the program last year, we had over 20,000 donations, and each donation can save up to 3 lives. So over 60,000 lives saved last year. We've already gone way beyond that this year, and we've still got a lot of the season, about half the season to go. And so, ultimately, you think about the number of lives saved. That's just a humongous impact. And you mentioned, how do we expand this? I think you're right. I think for me, competition and like watching what your peers are doing drives, involvement. Would I love to see this go on to the SEC, the Big 12, the ACC? We've talked to our friends at Abbott about that. Getting a great outcome this year, I think, could really drive that. And this could be something that the college football community could kind of galvanize around to say, we're making more than just an impact on the field. We're making an impact in, the lives of all our communities.
If we can talk about your other role for a moment as Chief Medical Officer of the Big Ten, how, despite all the competitive drive between Big Ten schools, how important has it been for all the schools to coordinate resources, information, and ideas to ensure player safety across the conference?
Well, I think, Jay, you bring up, consistency and alignment is huge today. And I think our institutions want to make certain that the experience and the expectation is, at the foundational level is very consistent and aligned at each institution. We created what we think is the most unique group in college athletics with an athletic medicine cabinet, which has an individual from each institution that sits on that cabinet and really helps to shape what that foundational experience looks like for athletes in all the sports that the Big Ten sponsors. But I think it's also, for the first time ever, being part of the governance structure of the conference and being able to have that be part of the fabric of what we do allows us to interact, with the athletic directors, the senior women administrators, the presidents, the chancellors, the leadership, from Commissioner Petiti down at the conference office. And the engagement around the importance of holistic health and safety and well-being is extremely rewarding.
Well, make sure you go to NittanyGameWeek.com for the entire conversation with Dr. Borchers, along with other web-exclusive content like our Nittany Connect network of businesses and the Nittany Game Week podcast. Don't go anywhere. Still to come, Tom hands out his scrap medal to a defensive standout who was all over the field in Iowa City. We're heading into the final minutes on Nittany Game Week.
Scrap Metal is sponsored by Burke and Bradley Orthopedics. Located in Pittsburgh, Burke and Bradley Orthopedics is a comprehensive sports medicine practice, providing patients with the most current and innovative approaches in diagnosis and treatment.
All right, Tom, time for your scrap medal, and this guy's been a standout all season long. It's safety, Zachy Wheatley.
Love to see the senior leadership. He's from Crofton, Maryland, and his interception on the first drive gives the Nittany Lions great scoring position. Wheatley was also needed against the run. He led Penn State with 10 tackles against the Hawkeyes. 9 of them were solo.
It's trivia time. Last week's question, who was the last Penn State interim head coach to win a game on the road, and who did they beat? The answer is our very own Tom Bradley at Ohio State in 2011. Our winner is Cheryl Bruno Gamber from Wellsville, Pennsylvania. This week's question, Deny Dennis Sutton was the first Penn State player to block a punt in consecutive games since Andre Collins did it in 1989. One of Collins' blocked punt was recovered for a game-winning touchdown by Leonard Humphreys. Which current SEC team did Penn State beat on the road that night?
We are bringing PSU fans and alumni together with our Nittany Connect network at NittanyGameWeek.com, partnering with businesses that support the show and letting our viewers know about the great products and professional services. Make sure to check out NittanyGameWeek.com for all of our web-exclusive content, airtimes for all of our networks of stations, previous episodes and interviews. The Nittany Game Week podcast all can be found at one convenient location, NittanyGameWeek.com. And before we go, got to show off the T-shirt that you're going to get when you give blood. They love free T-shirts on college campuses, right?
This one's pretty nice. I got this. I already gave, and I'm going again next week. You can do it more than once.
All right. Nittany Lions give blood for that blood drive challenge in the Big Ten. And while you're visiting our website, make sure to submit your tailgating and game picks from the game. We always finish with some pride picks, so show us your spirit. For Jay and Tom, I'm Todd. Thanks so much for watching Nittany Game Week. We'll see you next time.